I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated December 3rd, 2018? Heydrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Moheski?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Scornia?
Yes.
Selentrep?
Sure.
Waterman?
Yes.
Having read the minutes, are there any questions or comments? Any corrections?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Selentrep, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated December 3rd, 2018. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the collector's report summary, September 2018, investment report summary, September 2018, final pay request for Midwest Pool Management, change order 1 for Terex Utilities South, Inc. for the bucket trucks, change order number 2 for SK Contractors Roof Package B, change order 1 and final pay request for KJ Understall Construction, Bluff Road Improvements, and pay request 6 for Washington Engineering and Architecture, so the Schultz Industrial Park Stormwater Improvements.
Okay, are there any questions or comments about any of those items?
What do we have about the bucket truck?
It's my understanding there was a, you can come on up, Chad. It was my understanding that there was an incorrect dollar amount that was on the ordinance originally that was for 2000 and...
When they made out the purchase order, it did not match the contract that we signed with Terex, which is, it was $2,013 is what it was. We're still under budget with the trucks. We actually received that truck. We have that one. But we noticed, that's when we noticed the error when we were doing the final purchase of pay and everything for this truck.
What are we doing with the old truck?
It's getting traded in. They're actually going to come pick it up tomorrow. It's going to Arizona.
Get a good price for it?
$17,500.
What did we pay for it?
I don't know. It was probably $30,000 probably for that truck. We bought that truck used. I don't remember what it was cost.
Pretty good price.
I think it's a good price because I think if we would have sold it around here, we wouldn't have got that part. Company out of California bought it, but they also have division in Arizona. They're like the biggest company out there for true German.
So it has more life in it.
They're going to totally rebuild it.
Ah,
They take them apart and rebuild them and then put them on service.
okay, good.
That's it for you, I guess, Chad, but about the Schultz Industrial Park, is that finished now? With Washington Engineering, is that?
Sal, do you want the Schultz Industrial Park?
That is.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chad, sorry.
There is only, this next payment's for $27,000. This is just for the culverts that they laid. That's why it's for smaller than most of the other ones we did. Now the detention basin is to the right level that it's supposed to be. They corrected it. We are holding back the rest of the payments until they finish everything else into compliance with the specs of the contract. So that means we're essentially going to be holding on to everything else until March when they can seed and straw, and then they can go back and see if their compaction results will pass the test out at the borrow site.
Those lots across from Enduro, those are the ones that they did not get the compaction testing that they were supposed to meet. So you've got about 130-some thousand, is that correct?
143.
143.
We're holding, right now we have about $143,000 left in the contract that we're holding back for not only seed and straw, but in case they can't pass that compaction results and they walk from the project, we'll have to use those funds to fix it. But
Are they getting docked any for not being completed?
Yes, they still are accumulating liquidated damages.
no.
Are they, is that?
No, yeah, so as soon as they finish the swales and they showed that the detention basin was to the specs, other than the seed and straw, we stopped doing liquidated damages because all that was left was for seed and straw, and they can't do it throughout the winter.
Yeah.
And so we told them we'd stop liquidated damages, and then they had, as soon as it picks back up, I think they have so many days in the contract to complete it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we get a motion?
Need a motion.
Yeah, we
I'll
need
make a motion.
Second.
Who did it? Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Public hearings, rezone 505 West 2nd Street from R20 two-family residential to R1C single-family attached.
All right. Yes, so this is another request for a rezoning preliminary plat. The plat will be on the agenda later tonight. We've seen this a couple times this past year where the owners are wanting to sell one of the duplexes. They're currently condoed out. In order to do so, they have to get traditional financing, they have to separate the parcel into 2 lots. In order to do that, it's just not plugged in. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Sal. It's right in my hand. So it's zoned R2 overlay, which is what all duplexes were zoned when they first were being constructed. You can see now that we have the new zone district to the north here. That is the R1C single family attached that we'll be asking for. And then here's the plat later on. Just I'll show that they are meeting the minimum square footage requirements, about 6,100 each, and the minimum lot size is 6,000. So, but for the zoning itself, we obviously have no issue. It's actually bringing it into compliance.
None of those others on that street are,
Nope, all of these on.
we did one of those before, but no?
Nope. Not that I'm aware of. So, this one was applied for a couple months back, and then there was some issues, so I don't know if maybe you just saw it on an agenda, but.
Are all the residents okay with it?
Well, it's just these two. Right, so it's the rest of the owners it is not affecting their property. It is just this property here. And just to explain a little bit, after the recession, banks no longer finance duplexes under condos. You have to have them subdivided and on their own taxable parcel. And so in order to sell one of these duplexes unless it's paid by cash to get traditional financing, the bank requires that parcel. And then in order to do that, you have to subdivide it into 2 different lots. And then our code, if you're going to have a 0 lot line with a shared wall, you have to have what's called R1C single family attached. So it's really just a change in paperwork. You will not see anything done physically, and it is just for these 2 owners who signed off on the application. The rest of the property owners were just notified because it's in the area. We are not changing anyone else's zoning. I'll let you come up to the
If you want to come up, yeah. Does that help you?
Yeah, well, you're only going to rezone 1 lot, is that what you're saying?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because they requested it.
Yeah. So no one else is going to have to be resurveyed or anything like that?
No.
No fee?
No.
No.
So is he wanting to build more on there or what?
No, they're just wanting to sell it.
They just
Oh,
want to
okay.
sell it. Sometimes the banks do not want to go ahead and deal with a condo plat. And so like Sal was saying, they require that the individual units be on their own lots. And so that's the reason they have to get a different zoning district. The city's got a different zoning district in place if people choose to do that. A lot of these developments like this with these duplexes were done with this condo, where a condo association may only be for 2 units or it may be for 32 units. You know, it all depended on each development and how they came forward. But if you want to go ahead and draw a lot line down the middle of that, this is the zoning district that you need, and you have to go ahead and do it. But it does not change the rest of the duplexes or any of the other properties around it.
So that is the reason he's wanting to rezone it, is to sell it.
So,
See, the problem is, those haven't been hard to sell.
And it all depends. Like he said, you can buy cash or you can do some other type of,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, that's
Right.
why they've gone.
Right.
yeah, but if they need financing, if someone needs financing, then the bank requires that.
Understand that.
We just give, and it's not all banks, I think, that still do that. It's just we saw a lot of that, like Sal said, right after the recession hit. And so we just provided this option so that if people needed that, they could apply for this zoning, do the lot line right down the middle of the shared wall.
Okay. And that won't have any, I could do this later, won't have any effect on any of the restrictions? Okay. In other words, if he wants to build a garage, if he wants to get financing to build a garage or an extra building there, he can do it.
He would have to still probably go through, if you've got a set of restrictions, there's a set of restrictions that he has to meet the standards of yours as well as the city's building and zoning codes. They can be two separate things, just so you know.
Yeah, your restrictions and your rules still apply.
Correct. I mean, so if you had something, typically what we see is like if you have certain fencing requirements or something along that, or architectural standards, those things are stuff that typically the homeowners association are responsible for enforcing. The city just has the minimum standards as far as building codes and zoning.
Okay. So that is the only lot that's going to be affected.
That'd be the only lot that'll have that zoning district, yes.
Okay. That's what we needed. Thanks a lot.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, could
Sure.
you state your name for the
James
record?
Francis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else here tonight who would like to discuss this issue or speak about this issue? Okay. We'll need a motion
To accept them.
to accept this into the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Sullentrup, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning 505 West 2nd Street from R20 two-family residential to R1C single-family attached in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions or comments?
I just want to, Sal, obviously, the explanation the people are happy with now. When we were notified, is there any way that can be relayed earlier? It's really not the way it happens.
Well, our letters are always pretty generic, but we
Right.
we can add as much details as we want. So, I mean, that's a good point in the future for these, since they are confusing. And this is, just to be clear, and I know you guys all know, this is a requirement of the bank. It's just nothing that we require. Someone can
Right.
have their own financing, but, yeah, we can put some language in there in order to sell,
It's like I said, it's hard to probably put it all in writing with regards on a letter for those.
Right.
But we do have we've always put the number that they can go ahead and reach us if they have any
Right.
questions.
I just wanted,
I understand.
for those folks who were worried about it, that it would be explained. I mean, I'm happy they came here tonight and talk about it, no doubt about it, but if there's something that can be explained earlier, it would be all right. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning 505 West 2nd Street from R20 two-family residential to R1C single-family attached in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski?
Yes.
Idrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Rezone 807 West 5th Street from R3 multifamily residential to R1B single-family residential.
All right, this is a requested rezoning, and again, a preliminary plat that will be on the agenda later on. This includes the Birchwood Court Apartments, just off of 5th Street that back up to the apartments on Horn. Back when this was developed, this entire lot, this rectangular lot, was zoned R3 multifamily, and this includes the home that is on the front of the parcel there along 5th Street. The owners are now wishing to subdivide that home off. So to my understanding that home actually has been utilized as a single-family residence, and then possibly a leasing office at some point. But either way, it was actually grandfathered in because it wasn't being used as multifamily. It was being used as a single-family dwelling on this parcel with the apartments to the rear. And so they are going to be subdividing this piece off, the home, in order to sell that away from separately from the apartments. And in order to do so, they're asking for a rezoning. So that's what the public hearing is for tonight, to rezone it to R1B single-family residential. And you do see there is R1B just across the street on 5th Street. You can see these other single-family homes are R2 overlay. That is the overlay district that allows 1 and 2 family districts. Uses, the reason we didn't recommend that, or it wasn't really permitted, was That code actually requires a larger lot size, and this R1B allows them to get down to 6,000 square feet, which is what they have done, and I'll show on the plat later tonight.
That's
But,
the requirement, or that's what it is?
well, the requirement is a minimum of 6,000, and so they met that with 63.
Okay, I see it.
Yep. So,
Any questions or comments?
all right, thank you.
Okay, this is another public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this item? Okay. We'll need a motion to accept it into the minute.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Patke, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning 807 West Fifth Street from R3 multifamily residential to R1B single-family residential in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke. This is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions or comments?
An ordinance rezoning 807 West Fifth Street from R3 multifamily residential to R1B single-family residential in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Skornia.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Solentrup.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Holtzmeyer.
Aye.
Hatke.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Voluntary annexation, 19.5 acres located at Bluff Road and Highway 100.
All right. So this is a request for voluntary annexation that we received a few weeks ago. This is commonly known as the Hazel property, where the fireworks stand used to be. It is at the intersection of Bluff and 100. And I apologize, I meant to highlight this portion as well. So actually, both of these parcels are included here. It does go all the way to the Bluff Road intersection, and it includes about 20 acres, give or take. I think the description there is about 19.5, and we do require an exhibit for all annexations. So there was a question at P&Z. The record that the county had for this didn't match the survey that was submitted, and we always go with the survey that's submitted. So just to clear that up if you saw that on the application. But as for the recommended the annexation, it does have, it is adjoining existing city limits here where the church is on the southern side of the highway, so there's no issue there. It has access to Highway 100 currently. There is an existing curb cut directly across from the ZX gas station. The applicant is requesting to bring in the full 20 acres, so both of these parcels as R3 multifamily residential. Our master plan, when we set out future land uses, we don't specify when it comes to multifamily versus single family for future uses. It just says residential or commercial. I will say this piece here was this whole corridor was shown as future commercial use in the master plan. So that it does divert from the master plan in that sense a little bit, but I will say that it's my recommendation that the proposed use there with a little bit higher density single or multifamily development wouldn't be out of the ordinary there. It's along the highway. You have industrial and commercial uses directly across the highway. You don't have any single family development directly next to it. And I will just mention that our master plan does have two objectives that we should try to diversify our housing options and create more options for starter home development and rental options. So I think allowing this voluntary annexation in that multifamily zone district does meet that requirement, meet that objective of the master plan. So we are recommending approval of the annexation as it's proposed with that zoning. And then just keep in mind, everything that's required with site plan and building codes will still be required when they submit an actual site plan later. It just will not require a public hearing, but we will make sure it meets all the density requirements, stormwater, parking, access, all of those things will still have to be met at a later date.
Is water and sewer across to that?
So water is across the street, and it does actually cross the highway to get to the church. So I'm not sure if they're going to, it's up to the developer if they want to bore under the highway further west or if they want to access from the church. There is sewer that runs along this property on the south side of the highway.
So we're actually not voting on just the annexation, we're voting on the zoning.
Yes, so whenever a voluntary annexation is requested, they get to choose their zoning. If they don't request any zoning, it comes in as R1A, the code requires, but they have the chance to request a different zone district. And then tonight, there actually won't be any vote tonight. We have to wait 15 business days, and we can't count holidays, and so it actually won't be on your agenda to be voted until January 22nd.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Have we had any inklings on commercial property there? Obviously, it's sat there, kind of for sale for a long time, but the price was high.
Yeah.
So, and to go along with the master plan, to have commercial property there, no one's ever approached, not that we know of from a city standpoint.
No, so we've had it on our website since Darren had my position, listed it as potential industrial development property. Even though the master plan had commercial, we would have always entertained industrial there just because of its location to Bluff Road. I'm not aware of anyone serious that ever actually followed through with it.
I would field a call occasionally or whatever, there was always a listing agent that we would go ahead and refer them to. I know at one point they had it for sale for 40 grand, I think. Was it 40,000 an acre, I think, something like that?
Yeah, it was 2 million total.
Yeah, I do believe it had a price recently reduced,
Sure.
which kind of led to this.
I guess I know it's just an annexation at this point, but with the sale of 41 acres, and as this thing is closer to the industrial park, it seems like it's a prime commercial property that's going to be, is putting an apartment there going to deter what goes next door? And I guess my next question is the churches, how are they in this formula? Are they notified for annexation?
But
Only for plat?
we don't send out letters for annexation, only if it's requested rezoning later. It's just we've never done that for annexation. As far as a commercial use is more appropriate, it's hard for me to determine what the highest and best use is. I could see that a commercial development there probably would maybe yield some more for the tax base, but
Right.
as for my recommendation, I just think multifamily isn't an inappropriate use for the property.
It's a difficult lot to go ahead and work with, I think, at least for industrial purposes, because it doesn't lend itself to,
Right, just
most.
There
building
is a
types to
ravine
work
that
with
goes
there.
down this backside.
I mean, personal opinion is you just always thought you would envision a commercial property there at that intersection, no doubt. And, but on the other side, no one's bought it yet, and if someone wants to buy it, then it's up to them. So, I can't stop them, but I just wanted to, if we're deterring anything else from commercial,
Yeah, I will say, I think we have a large inventory for commercial and retail lots right now, with not only what's left in Phoenix Center, but what's been recently graded at Highland Meadows off High Street. And you would think realistically that's where commercial retail, I would say, more commercially based would go first.
Sure.
Just because it's closer to 47 and 100 intersection. And that's why I think we always kind of entertain this as a little bit higher intensity manufacturing spot, but like we said, it never materialized.
It's a difficult part. It's a little bit too far west for traffic counts for a lot of commercial. And so, I think that's always been the issue that we've always kind of struggled with when we try to market the Earl Frankie building that we referred to. It used to be the old Becky Queen of Carpet building. It's just a difficult, you don't quite get that commercial interest out there.
As long as it's sat there, I'm glad that we finally got somebody that's interested in it. And I think it's going to fit well with our annexation process we're trying to go through. Maybe more people out west will start annexing in too.
only one more point I'd like to make is I hope through the process that we can get the entrance across from Bluff Road at the stoplight. If we enter that across from the other entrance with the gas station car wash entrance, we're going to cause a pretty difficult entrance there.
Yeah. And that,
It's already a difficult entrance to get out of there that close to the stoplight.
We
so-
can't do anything about the one they have there now, can we?
no, that is up to MoDOT. If MoDOT had issue with it and would require a traffic study that would ask them to move it or close it, that would be up to the state. before this annexation request was even in, just because we were in touch with the owners, they asked the same question, you know, how difficult it would be to get the intersection there. And I did bring it up with Judy Wagner, and they would have no issue with that. You know, they would think it would be a much safer location to access the property than where it's at currently. Right. The main issue with that is, and I apologize, I didn't zoom in far enough here, you can see where that property line lines up.
Right.
You would have to utilize 2 property owners there.
Right. That's a later date.
And with that creek, I think it's the St. John's Creek that makes that horseshoe there, there's some flood issues. You'd have to make a pretty quick turn into there, so.
Okay.
But I would think MoDOT would definitely entertain that in the future if someone were interested in working with this property owner.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to, well, let's see, it's a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item?
Good evening. My name is Cameron Lucan with Wunderlich Surveying Engineering. We're representing the developer tonight, Mr. Ed Schmeltz. He's here tonight to answer your questions. I'll just kind of touch on a few questions you guys brought up real quick. As relates to the, the commercial versus R3, when you look at this area out in that area, when you get west of Pottery or even west of High, there hasn't been a new development out that way in a long time. There's been a lot of building expansion out there in the industrial park. So the developer feels like this is going to satisfy a need of the some housing out there in proximity to those rooftops that the industrial jobs are creating out there. So we think it's a great fit in that respect. I guess in the respect of, let's see, Steve, you brought up the intersection, yeah. So one thing that Ed did have the opportunity to do was, can you zoom in on that, John, just a little bit tighter? And I meant the one slide before that to just.
The aerial slide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ariel, you did say that.
I just wanted to address that commercial intersection, you might say. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, that's a little bit further out, if you could.
So we're,
A little bit further. West. Well, at the intersection, if you could, John. Sorry, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll start talking while he's getting there. Basically, to answer your questions about the intersection, that's good right there, John. So as was mentioned, this is the existing intersection. So basically, the type of building that Ed's going to build is, I think there's going to be basically 1 building here and 4 to the west is what it is. Is a total of 5 or 6? An office and 6 buildings. I'm sorry, office and 6 buildings. So to answer your question, Ed's really not going to utilize this area right here for a couple reasons. There's a choke point right here. The creek gets close, and it just gets tight back in here. So if Ed's basically going to reserve that for commercial.
Where's the property line on the eastern part?
Sorry, it's right. Basically,
He's going. He'll get there.
let John get zoomed out here, and I'll show
Lines
you.
up with Bluff Road.
Yeah, right. So this is basically a section line running down through here, and that was where it lines up. So it theoretically was probably going to take an act of Ed and an act of the neighbor to actually improve that intersection to a standard that would be sufficient for MoDOT. So I guess what I'm saying is, Steve, is that Ed's not intending to do anything with this on a residential nature at this point. Yeah, it's coming in as all as R3, but, we don't know.
Either way, where you put the entrance in it, it's going to be a problem getting off of Highway 100 to make a left-hand turn to get in there anyway.
Correct. Yeah, either place you'd go. Yeah, yeah.
If you're going west on 100 to turn into it, and you got a lot of traffic, it's going to be traffic backed up at that stoplight. So if you got somebody wants to turn in there with traffic coming the other way, so where you put it really doesn't make a difference.
Right. So, but I just want to let you know that, we're not that, if it ever becomes an issue, if some large development goes in here on the piece to the east, basically that will be available still. It's not in Ed's plans to develop that, and so that would be available. I'll let Ed come up and talk about that, to do something with that, in the future. So it's not like it's going to be a hindrance in the future. Let's see. I think that was all the questions. You guys any questions for me while I'm up here in regards to any of all that?
I can't see. Is there a left-hand turn lane into that lot right now?
It's tapered right now. I don't think it's a full left. I think it's a partial, but it's not. I don't think it's a full. I think going eastbound, it's full,
Yes.
but going westbound, it's not striped for a full left-hand turn lane.
That's correct, yeah. It's striped for the turn.
Eastbound.
Right, yeah.
Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, but MoDOT require a permit because they're redoing working the right of way. So if they determine there needs to be some amendment to the highway there, MoDOT will make that call.
Because it looks like there's a left-hand turn lane going into the gas station anyway.
In the gas station,
There is.
heading east, yes. But then after the gas station, that becomes the left-hand turn lane for Bluff Road.
Right.
And this would be the opposite way, yeah.
Hello, Ed Schmeltz. I'm the developer of this project. Just really wanted to come introduce myself. I think Cameron did a fairly well job of describing the project. Just to talk about that entrance real quick. Yes, coming eastbound, there is a left lane into that gas station there, and then you can kind of see the crosshatching coming from the other way. So that was one thing we were going to discuss with MoDOT, was to see if we could restripe that, where we could almost make that a left lane. There is almost enough room to make that a left lane going into our project heading westbound. So, and then if I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
Any other questions? Don't look like it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? If not, we'll need a motion to accept this into the minutes.
I'll make a motion. Accept in the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Waterman, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Report of department heads? Historic Preservation Commission Annual Report?
I really don't have much to actually report on this, just in case you have any questions. The report was put in your packet. We are required to submit this at the end of each fiscal year. We are a certified local government, have been, I think, for 30 years, and you have to submit a report once a year just on what we've done with the Historic Preservation Commission, any reviews we've done, any new local landmarks, that sort of thing, and then any community outreach we've done through historic preservation. So we submit that to the state, and that makes us eligible for grants. So, and Jamie put that together, so you see her, thank her. She did all
Did
that.
a great job.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice job.
good. Any questions or comments? We need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, was it you? Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Heidrich, to approve the annual report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the item. Thank you.
Ordinances and resolutions.
Before
Oh,
we
yeah,
get to
sorry.
that, that's
Tony,
okay.
did you want to talk about leaf
Leaf
pickup?
collection.
Please.
Leave me alone.
So I did have some maps I put out
The
as
map
of
is
5
great.
o'clock,
Right.
5 o'clock today.
I guess my question is, I know we spoke last time, we were down to one machine and things were behind. Everyone just, all the calls I've gotten have been, we were told to rake them out the curb on November the 26th.
Right.
And now here it is, December the 17th, they're not there yet. Try to explain we're down one. Something like this kind of map in the paper, maybe the thing we need to do, or a little bit better communication, I guess. If people weren't at the meeting, they don't know that we were behind, we were down one machine.
Right.
Those kind of things. I did see them today around Stafford Street. There was a lot of them there, so we're getting there. That's great. I guess just maybe in the future it'd be do we break the town in half and plan a week there? It just seems like 1 week we don't get through the whole town, and then
Right.
it ends up they lay on the ground for.
Yeah, and I think had we had both machines together, our progress wouldn't have been so stagnated, but we usually move pretty quick. It's hard to tell because you never know if weather's going to get in the way or mechanical breakdowns or personnel issues. So to say, hey, we're going to be there on this day, it just never pans out.
Right.
And you guys know how it is.
Right.
What I think he's just saying is when we do have problems, then we should
Communicate.
communicate it with the paper and say, hey, we have this problem, or the weather, snow, whatever. Put that out there that you have that problem so we don't
Right.
aggravate people.
Yep,
That's what I'm saying.
And we have a second machine going now?
we do. We had 2 running today.
Yes.
Is that our machine we got fixed, or is that in rental?
It's ours, we got fixed.
Oh, we got fixed, so we're back up and running with 2, and so by the end of the week, we should be done with leaf pickup.
Judging by what we've got left, yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to get it out, we'll try to get it wrapped up for the weather. I think Thursday, they're talking about rain, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thanks, Tony.
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim bill of sale by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Union Pacific Railroad Company.
Saltrop.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup.
This is the tower that that Union Pacific Railroad had approached us about to see if we were interested in. Our intent with the tower for this time will be to go ahead and help support our internet or Wi-Fi connectability downtown. This is part of the Wash PC's rollout to go ahead and help those areas. There's quite a distance, the clearance that they have from the top of that tower all the way out to, I think, Crestview. So this helps with that and maintains our network as well. So, but I don't know, John, did you want to add anything else?
No, I think the only thing I would add is that that tower did have aerial electric strung from the south side of Front Street to the tower, the actual poles that are on that side. And after taking a look at it today, we're going to need electric as well. So that was removed when the tower was taken out of service by UP. We will have to put that back up. Now, I know that seems very counterintuitive when we're trying to remove aerial electric on Front Street, but we'll take care of that as we progress with our underground electric project, our meeting our goals there. So there will be a service line that would get extended from one side to the other. There's aerial that crosses there now at, I believe it's Oak Street. So I'm hoping we just tie right in that pole, come down that pole and then trench over to the H Tower and go up. So I doubt you'd even notice, but if somebody did see that, it would just be one service line.
Any other questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim bill of sale by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Union Pacific Railroad Company. Mohesky?
Aye.
Idrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance repealing Chapter 630 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri, and enacting in lieu thereof a new Chapter 630.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. Chief?
This is a rewrite of our past security guard ordinance. It divides it into 2 classifications, a security guard unarmed and an armed guard. It also gives specifications for a security guard. They do what they used to before, fill out an application, show their criminal history that they have no felony convictions, and then they're licensed. And for an armed guard, they have to do the same thing, but also they have to go through a firearms course put on by the police department for safety, use of the weapon, training, and then they have to do a qualification with the weapon. A portion of it also pertains to, you have all these loss prevention officers for the different businesses. They're not included as needing a license. It's strictly someone from a security business or running a security business that needs a security guard, and if they're going to be armed, an armed security guard on it. It also changes the fees and increases them for those licenses based on the amount of time we have to spend with them and paperwork we have to do.
Any questions, comments?
On section 630.056, I just noticed a typo in that. So That's term of license is misspelled.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, Mary?
An ordinance repealing Chapter 630 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri, and enacting in lieu thereof a new Chapter 630. Moheski?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Hatchke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from MTI Distributing and to approve the purchase of a Toro GM 4000 wide area mower and accessories by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is a more,
Chad, you want to?
This is the more we brought to you last council meeting, or the ops meeting, to review for a new purchase for, to replace a 2013 John Deere wide area mower that we have that needs replaced because due for all the cost it's costing us.
any questions or comments? Okay, thanks, Chad.
An ordinance accepting the bid from MTI Distributing and to approve the purchase of a Toro GM 4000 wide area mower and accessories by the City of Washington, Missouri. Moheski?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patchke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance amending the provisions of Chapter 335, Schedule 2 of the Washington City Code by adding provisions for a stop sign at the location described below.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is a stop sign.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yeah, the location described below is, it's a stop sign at Lafayette here in 4th Street. Currently, Lafayette does not have a stop sign at that location. We received this request probably 4 weeks ago from a concern, from multiple concerned citizens with the commercial business neighborhood Reeds, children, people getting out of their cars, things of that nature. Since it's being utilized, more heavily as a north-south thoroughfare. We took it to the traffic committee in which we did work our way down Lafayette Street and noticed that every intersection had stop signs, and we really couldn't put a reason on why this one did not. We also reviewed I believe the White House, the Jasper building, did have some sight distance issues around the corner. So while we do not regulate speed with stop signs, the traffic committee did recommend that with the commercial uses at both sides and the utilization of the intersection, that a stop sign, that they agreed with the stop sign being warranted. So we are asking if you would agree with that as well.
Sounds good.
Any questions?
How about it just makes sense to put a stop sign there? That works good.
That's
We don't want to just leave it at that. They'll be up everywhere.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we do not regulate speed with stop signs. That's the whole point
There
of
you
the
go.
entire thing.
An ordinance amending the provisions of Chapter 335, Schedule 2 of the Washington City Code by adding provisions for a stop sign at the location described below. Moheski?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patchke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for Highland Meadows Plat 4 subdivision in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Patke?
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
Yes, it just makes sense to take over streets when they're built. So that's what this is. It's a one lot. It's a one-lot subdivision. There is it's in the Highland Meadows behind Casey's development. I don't recall the size of the lot, but it's a pretty small, just section of street adding as you go up the hill. This would take over that street for maintenance. There was some minor storm sewer added, no sanitary, no water that was already installed, so this is just for that street maintenance. So we would recommend moving forth with taking that over.
Any questions or comments?
Good idea.
I got it from him.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for Highland Meadows Plat 4 subdivision in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Hatke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Commission, committee, and board reports. Preliminary plat approval, Birchwood Plat 2.
It's fine. No, so here is the plat that accompanies the rezoning we just had earlier tonight. This one was a little bit trickier just because of the unique situation. So like I mentioned, with this Lot 1A that was created, it needed at least 6,000 square feet. You can see they're able to achieve that. And then the tricky part was making sure Lot 1B still met all the requirements. There's not a minimum lot size, but there's a density requirement. And with 10 units there, now that we had our new or amended density requirement on R3, they actually met that, so that helped them out there, that 38,000 square feet with 10 units here. That I think they were allowed up to 12 with that new requirement, so there was an issue with this new lot size. The tricky part was you have to have a minimum of 50 feet of right-of-way when you create a new lot, and so that's why this is kind of peculiar shaped, because they needed to get to the 50 feet along Fifth Street, and they narrowed it down to make sure they can get the 6,000 square feet here. And they also, as you can see in the aerial, it pretty much matches this existing street. So the street, it's a private street that gets into Birchwood Apartments, the townhomes here, will be on Lot 1B. So there's no need for a cross-access easement. There is a driveway that comes off from 1A onto 1B. We're not requiring a cross-access easement there because in R1B, we don't require off-street parking. They're allowed to use on-street. And so if that were to close in the future, it's between property owners. It's not something we would require. But other than that, they show the appropriate easements. They got the lot sizes, like I mentioned, so we are recommending approval of the preliminary plat and final plat tonight. There's no public improvements required, and so we can move forward with the final plat with no...
Is part of that property on the east side of that street?
That wedge.
Yeah.
No, I believe that's what's shown here. It is completely on, and Cameron, he left. He drew this up, but so as I read that, that is completely on, the street is completely on Lot 1B.
Well, who owns the little wedge on the right side?
That's
Oh,
that's
I'm
part
sorry,
of it.
yes.
That's part of it.
This part of Lot B. This is just showing where the pavement is, where the actual road is.
Yeah, that wedge is,
Lot A is right here.
and that wedge is where the dumpster enclosure
Yes.
is for the apartments.
Apologize, I wasn't following your question. Yeah, this is part of Lot 1B.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Need
Need
a
a motion to
Make a
accept.
motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Pettit, to accept this item into the minutes, or to accept and approve the item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Birchwood Plat 2 in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. This is the ordinance that follows the previous item. Any questions?
An ordinance approving the final plat of Birchwood Plat 2 in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski? Heidrich? Scornia?
Aye.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Hatchke?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Preliminary plat approval, Cottage Park Plat 4.
All right, again, this is the preliminary and final plat for the rezoning we heard earlier. You can see here they do show Lot 1 and Lot 2, and they each meet the minimum square footage requirements. The only thing that's a little bit different here than what we normally see, because of that access easement in the back, you can see where the gravel road is, they do show the cross-access easement across both of those lots. So other than that, they have the right-of-way frontage, they got the size requirements, so pretty simple. We're recommending approval. And again, no public improvements required. They have the notes that were required for the storm, or for the sanitary sewer, that we amended that code, I think, last year. So we are all good to go there.
Any comments or questions?
Make a motion, send it on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Patke, to accept and approve this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted and approved it. Thank you.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Cottage Park, Plat 4, in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Salatrup.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup. That's the ordinance. Any questions?
An ordinance approving the final plat of Cottage Park, Plat 4, in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Moheski.
Aye.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Sullentrup. Waterman.
Yes.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
I don't really have anything to report. Continue to hear a lot of great comments about our community. Just want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Well, next time we're together, it'll be 2019. So,
No more meetings then?
I don't think so. I don't think we have any more
Christmas.
meetings.
Christmas Eve, we're going to have.
No, we're done.
City Administrator's report.
I have two things. First item, I've asked Sparky Stuckenschneider and Tessie Steffens of the Park Board to go ahead and be at the meeting tonight, talk a little bit about, as I emailed you and the article was out in the paper, we have hired Wayne Dunker as our new Parks Director. Wayne comes to us from the city of Clayton, and I just invited them to see if they had any input that they wanted to go ahead and provide. They sat in on the process of how we went through resumes and applications, and got through our second round of interviews and got to the point where we're at today. So this was always the goal, was to try to go ahead and have somebody in place by the end of the year, but we'll be a week shy of that when they start on January the 7th. So, Tessie or Sparky, I don't know if you had any comments.
I would just like to say that, and I think I speak for Tessie also, it was a privilege serving on this committee. I thought it was done very professionally. The questions that we asked were good. We had good candidates, both locally and from out of town, and I think we really picked a good one. And I'm looking forward to working with him. So thank you for allowing us, Tessie and myself, to serve on the committee. We really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for serving. So,
The second item I have is just as an information-only type item. We did have, I know at the last Park Board meeting, there was a request still from East Central to have, for the fees to be waived for the main stage for their concert that they have in the first week of May, and I think it was reported in the Missourian about the vote that they had to go ahead and be consistent and keep those fees in place. I just wanted you to know we did meet with the East Central College with regards to that. They do intend on having their concert there on May the 3rd, and they do intend on, if they have to, pay the fees as far as that goes. One other thing I wanted to mention, though, was we may be looking at those fees between now and then, just because the fee committee that's been meeting has been primarily focused on the sports groups that have to get their registration going and starting well, they start their games actually in, they have their draft, I think, in March, and they start their games in May. So we thought that that was a higher priority at the time to go ahead and move forward. But I just wanted to let you know that they're prepared. They always were prepared to go ahead and stay and keep the concert there. It was just a request that they had. I think it's been kind of up and down in the past, whether or not they had to pay the fee or not, and so it kind of fluctuated. But they understood, or at least the gentleman that we met with understood the city's viewpoint and why we wanted to go ahead and do that. So I just want to let you know that they do intend on having the concert. So, and I just have 2 items in executive session.
Council comments?
any comments?
I'd like to, on behalf of the council, thank you for the Christmas present, Mayor. And I know you've been patted on the back enough already, but I don't think you've been patted on enough. And on behalf of the council, I want to tell you were a class act on the bridge dedication and everybody that helped you with it. I think that everybody did a perfect job. You couldn't have done any better than what you did.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sully, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we had a great committee, so it really was good. A lot of people were involved, and it unfolded beautifully. You know, it just all happened. So it was nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
City Attorney's Report, public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Moheski?
Aye.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Holtzmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Okay.